320 stage. Caroline suddenly remembered that Ji Banong, who is currently in charge of role resources, would hold a banquet at the A16 Manor every year. Then she felt a little ridiculous and unbelievable. Could it be that Boss Lin went out this time to attend the banquet held by Ji Banong? How is this possible? Caroline instinctively didn't believe it because although Role Resources is well known among ordinary people and is a monopoly enterprise that can be called a behemoth, in the eyes of the extraordinary, especially in the big forces such as the Truth Society and the Secret Ritual Tower, it seems that it is just a useful tool for making money. In terms of status, it is even inferior to the Ash Tree Chamber of Commerce, which is controlled by the Druid sect, which at least still has the opportunity to negotiate, confront and cooperate with the aforementioned forces. For example, the additional funds for the Secret Tower Intelligence section were sponsored by the Ash Tree Chamber of Commerce, and Joseph had to give them some face. As for Lure Resources, it is purely a mining tool. Even if he actually earns much more money than the Ash Tree Chamber of Commerce, the money is originally mine. It is not very good for you to use this money to negotiate business with me. Is it? To put it bluntly, Ji Banong seems to be infinitely beautiful, but in fact he is just a puppet. The real behind-the-scenes manipulator is actually the person in power in the Central District, the top level of the Truth Society, and the highest level extraordinary people such as the Elder Seed of the Mystery Tower. Ji Banong himself is just a mortal, and this is his greatest original sin. This is doomed that he and Luo'er's resources will never be able to occupy a place in the stage of the extraordinary. And those high-level extraordinary people obviously arranged it so deliberately. The things that Luo resources mastered are too important. If extraordinary people control it, ambition will inevitably become the seeds of rebellion. But if it is an ordinary person without any talent, even if he has an idea, it will never be turned into action. However, this time, the bigwigs seem to have miscalculated. At the moment when this long-standing war was completely detonated, Role Resources seemed to be stealing his home secretly, and it was an incredible success. Thinking of this, Caroline's heart shook uncontrollably, and her originally firm thoughts also shook. Indeed, from the normal point of view I analyzed just now, it seems impossible for Ji Banong to impress Boss Lin, but the premise is, from a normal point of view. Is Boss K Lin in the normal category? Obviously. Moreover, he is the biggest variable in the current situation. He's not the source of evil, but he's chasing his own pleasure, and now, if he wants to see a good play where ordinary people subvert the extraordinary, then, there is no doubt that Ji Banong seems to be it will be the best choice. Caroline's eyes widened suddenly, as if she instantly understood what Boss Lin was thinking. Combined with what's happening at this point in time, this absurd possibility is infinitely magnified in an instant. She shook her body, looked at the reporting subordinate, and said eagerly, "Go on. What about other information and materials in the intelligence section that support this inference?" The subordinate nodded and said, "First of all, some time ago, Ji Banong's daughter Ji Zishu once went to the bookstore with a suitcase. At that time, the intelligence department could only detect the normal range of ether fluctuations, but later, I caught a strange ups and downs, but everything was normal at that time, so I didn't care, just made a record." Caroline said, "Is there something wrong with that box?" The subordinate said, "It is very likely that this is the case. We speculate that it is very likely that Ji Zishu made a request to the owner of the bookstore. Secondly, at that time, Ji Zishu strangely did not walk like before, but took the way of driving, and the driver even followed into the bookstore at that time. We called the database just now, and we did not find Luo Resources or Ji. There is such a driver inside the house. Therefore, there is a possibility that the driver at the time was Ji Banong himself." Hearing this, Caroline took all the rest of the information and quickly flipped through it, only to feel a lightning flash across her mind. It turned out to be so. With that, everything is set. Caroline figured it out, completely figured it out. Ji Zishu visited Boss Lin in front, and while confronted Joseph again because he wanted to repair the gargoyle given to Boss Lin, causing a conflict in the back. Is this proof that Boss Lin accepted the request and then provoked an accelerated conflict? In the days before and after, Andrew, the vice president of the Truth Society, also came to apologize and went back and forth in the bookstore several times. Is this the reason why the Truth refuses to help the Mystic Tower in a pinch now? If everything is true, the sudden outbreak of battle is also in Boss Lin's calculations. Then, I am afraid that all of this is to divert the attention of the Mystery Tower, the Truth Society, and all the high-level transcendents to the decisive battle between Wilde and Joseph, so that they have no time to care about what happened on the other side. For the banquet at the manor, a stage for mortals was made, to allow him to enjoy it to the greatest extent. This, alas, the person in the logistics department who is in charge of keeping an eye on the movement of the bookstore. Haven't you replied yet? Caroline rubbed her forehead and suddenly sighed. What else can I do in this situation? Someone immediately replied, but. Caroline instantly became nervous, and her heart raised her throat. What's the matter? The reporter hesitated for a moment, then said, Thomas, the person on duty today, there may be something wrong with his sanity. He first said that the owner of the bookstore had disappeared, and then he started talking nonsense, laughing and saying that the wall is the door, the shadow is the abyss, the one who sees the stars is the believer, what else is immemorial, what the universe, and so on. Caroline breathed a sigh of relief when she heard the words, waved her hand and said, It's normal. After bringing him back, you can do some mental correction for the hunter. She also asked her subordinates to call the inspection base outside the A16 manor. Sure enough, someone reported that they had found the figure of Boss Lin, confirming her guess. If it was really Boss Lin's arrangement, who could stop them? Even if you stop it and face Boss Lin directly. Who can handle? Since I can't stop it, I can only lie down and pray that the willful owner of the bookstore just wants to watch the play with peace of mind. Besides, I really don't have the energy to be distracted to go to the other side at all. The corpse cannibalism is on the rise, and the battle between the two destruction levels is about to break out in Nuogen City. Under such circumstances, the culprit went to a party of ordinary people leisurely. I have to say, it's really Boss Lin's style. At this moment, the truth. Andrew screened off the scholars who came to report the request of the secret ritual tower. He laughed softly and said in his heart, It's really beyond your control to want to disturb the Lord's banquet, Joseph, you have to pay the price for your impurity. End of this chapter.